Good evening, everyone. Here is Geraldo Lemos Neto. I'm here with Silvana Saldanha and Marco Gandra, live from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. And today we are going to talk about the program to Know Spiritism number 23. And today we are continuing to study the last book by Allan Kardec, especially in the book Genesis, Miracles and Predictions According to Spiritism, focusing what the Spiritist view is on prophecies and mediumship. So the predictions according to Spiritism, it's a chapter that Allan Kardec himself wrote. It's the chapter 16, the theory of foreknowledge, or the prediction theory, as you wish. In the item 3, he stated, dematerialized spirits are like the man on the mountain. Space and length of time do not exist for them. The extent and penetration of their sight are proportional to their purification and their level in the spirit hierarchy. He compares the mediumship to foreknowledge the future, to foresee the future, to someone that goes up in the mountains. And the sight of this someone is, of course, much greater and can see long distances because he is in the position to see the distance, the rivers, the mountains, the horizon in a much broader way than the one that is in the plains, in the cities down. So it compares this process to teach us that in the spiritual realm, the one that is able to do this, to see all around him and to understand precisely what is happening around him in the present and in the future, is only the spirits that are sufficiently dematerialized. The dematerialized spirits are the ones that, for them, the length of time and space do not exist. And their purification is proportional to their knowledge also, and to their understanding of the universe. In the item 4, Kardec states, since human beings must cooperate in the overall progress, and since certain events must result from such cooperation, it might be useful in special cases for them to foreknow these events in order to prepare the way for them, and so that they may be ready to act when the time comes. Now, Kardec is showing us that as we, as human beings, even incarnated or discarnated beings, as we must take part in the evolution, in the progress events of humankind as a whole, as we have a part on that, sometimes it's necessary that a glimpse of the future come to us, so we must be prepared. That's why the prophecy is a so very much important mediumship to us because we can relate to them nowadays and be prepared to what is coming. Also, he states, this is why God at times permits a corner of the veil to be lifted, but always for a useful purpose and never to satisfy vain curiosity. This is important. Kardec states that God permits time to time a corner to the veil to be lifted, but not for vanity, for curiosity, for mediocre purposes, but only for useful purposes. He states, therefore, such a mission might not be given to all spirits, since there are those who do not know the future any better than humans do, but to a few spirits who are sufficiently advanced for the task. This is very much important. Why it is important? Because the mediumship to foresee the future, the foreknowledge of the future, or the prophecy mediumship, the predictions mediumship to humankind are not given to all mediums, are not given to common men or women. They are given to the ones that are chosen, to the ones who are sufficiently advanced for the task. One example, Chico Xavier. We do not doubt his life, his legacy, his works, because he himself lived all his life dedicated to the gospel of Jesus and to Spiritism as an example, a living example of all the teachings that he not only embraced in his mind, but most importantly, he embraced in his feelings, in his heart. Chico Xavier is a perfect example of a medium that were chosen by the higher spirits to foresee the future. In the item 6, Allan Kardec states, it is thus that we see this faculty developing providentially on certain occasions, during imminent danger, great calamities, and revolutions. Hence, the gift of prediction is no more supernatural than a multitude of other phenomena. It rests upon the properties of the soul and the law governing the relationship between the visible and the invisible worlds. Here, Allan Kardec is teaching us that this special faculty, the faculty to prophesy, the faculty to foresee the future, to predict the future, comes providentially by the works of God on certain special occasions. And for example, he states 3 types of occasions that most commonly it appears: during imminent danger, when humanity is facing very difficult times an imminent danger. For instance, before a great war or before a great phenomena like earthquakes, like tsunamis, like volcanoes, eruptions, or even a meteor falling. As he himself states, before great calamities. Also, before in this subject, we can include all the diseases that spread easily throughout the planet. And also, he states before revolutions in important nations, and that most easily can become a motive of war. So before those times, those very special occasions, it is common that God, that Jesus, and the higher spirits can call a special person, a special medium, and instruct that medium of the danger that will probably the humankind will face. Now, in the item 8, Kardec states, such faculty is inherited to the state of spiritualization, or rather dematerialization. Thus, events pertaining to the future can be predicted. And in the item 9, he states, it is a faculty inherited and proportional to the spirit's state of dematerialization. So, one thing is most important that we can see here, that Allan Kardec himself states that events pertaining to the future can be predicted, and they are predicted, but only by the mediums that are in a high state of evolution, of spiritualization, of spiritual development, or in other words, in a very high state of dematerialization. That's why we cannot doubt, for instance, this state of mind and spirit on Chico Xavier, on Emmanuel, his mentor, and other higher spirits that wrote through him. Now, in the chapter 16, item 14, Kardec states, thus, the final result of an event may be certain because it lies within God's designs. However, since the details and method of execution are most frequently dependent on the circumstances and human free will, the ways and means may be contingent. Spirits can give us a sense of the whole if it is useful for us to be forewarned. So we can understand this very easily, because first Kardec states that if one certain event is within God's decisions, within God's designs, it will it will happen, most certainly. So the final result is certain. What we can not predict is, however, the details and method of execution, because we as human beings, we interact with each other and the nations within themselves, and so that the circumstances, our free will interfere in the program. The program, the perfect program, is written by God, by Jesus, by the higher spirits, and it is a way, a pathway that we will for certain go through. But it is not we cannot foresee all, all the turns and downs on this road, because we ourselves as human beings, we as nations, we are as collectives, we interfere in those events. We can, in a way, uh, go faster in the evolution path, or most frequently we go, in a path more deviated path, more slowly in our evolution process. And because of that, we can know, uh, we can have a sense to where we are going. We can have the revelation of the whole future that is expected to us. And this is useful for us because we must prepare for the future. But as a matter of fact, we interfere with God's plan. And because of that, all the circumstances, the details, the methods of execution will depend also on our doings. Also in this item 14, Kardec states, thus it is, for example, that by means of the whole of the circumstances, spirits can foresee that an unavoidable war is close at hand or not, but without being able to foresee the exact day on which it will begin, or the detailed incidents that may be modified by human will. This is a very clear example, because the human will, politics, the social revolutions, the movements by the people, all of that can interfere in the pathway of a nation, of a certain group of people, of a certain type of civilization. And because of that, we cannot foresee in details, but we can foresee the whole spirit of the future. In item 17, Allan Kardec states, they warn us about future personal or general matters whenever it might be useful, and to the degree of discernment with which they are endowed, just as counselors and friends would do so. Thus, their predictions are more like warnings that take nothing from free will. He is teaching us that in our personal matters, we can also receive the attention of the good spirits, the higher spirits, that can give their personal view on our general matters, only if they are useful to us, if they are going to contribute to our own development, to our own evolution. And they do so just as counselors and friends, as friends would do to other friends. And their predictions in this kind are more like warnings that take nothing from our own free will. They are not interfering in our decisions, but they are counseling us. And in this last item, the item 18 of chapter 16, Kardec states, contemporary humankind also has its prophets. More than one writer, more than one poet, more than one literary person, historian or philosopher has sensed in his or her writings the future march of things that are coming into being today. And here Kardec is clearly showing us that all humankind, even contemporary human world, we have our prophets. As a matter of fact, Chico Xavier in the Spiritism movement was our prophet. He could foresee the future, and he talked about the future. And the spirits that wrote through Chico Xavier also talked about things that would come to effect 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 70 years after their writings. And we can also, as Allan Kardec here states, we can also see this in the writers, the poets, the historians, the philosophers, that most of them saw the future, sensed the future in one way or another. It's interesting to see, for example, the works that talked about airplanes in a time, helicopters, submarines, even space travels in a time that those things didn't exist. So they sensed most of those writers, poets, or historians, or philosophers, they could sense it. We thank you so much for your attention, and I hope to see you again next week.